Adam, you're watching Netflix. I'm watching the box office. And if the performance of the latest Spider-Man film is any indication, the box office is beginning to rebound. Spider-Man No Way Home shattered records to post the biggest opening weekend yet of the pandemic era, grossing $260 million, or nearly $260 million, in its debut in North America. Here to discuss more on the theater industry is Gitesh Pandya, box office guru, founder, and editor, along with Yahoo Finance's own Alexandra Canal, stopping by for this discussion. Gitesh, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. This Spider-Man film saw not only one of the best opening weekends during the pandemic, but one of the best opening weekends ever, even as we are now contending with the new variant of the coronavirus. What do you think drove this demand for this particular film at the box office?
Well, many reasons. First of all, this is the biggest brand in Hollywood, Marvel. The Marvel movies do better than just about anything out there, so it was going to be huge regardless. Second of all, the anticipation that was built up over the past few months was just out of this world. It was amazing. This is a film where they dropped trailers, they gave away some information. There were a lot of secrets, a lot of spoilers. People wanted to know who was in the film, who was not in the film. They're bringing back some of the villains, as you can see from previous movies. So there's a lot of mystery, a lot of people wondering about what's going to happen, what the secrets are. And so that drove a lot of people up front to find out everything before the spoilers get out. And, the latest numbers are in $260 million on the domestic opening weekend. That's bigger than they expected. 253 was the Sunday number. Just today, a few hours ago, they reported Sunday was better than estimated. 260 million for the whole weekend. Second biggest opening weekend of all time. Not just pandemic. We're talking about all time. Only Avengers Endgame was ever bigger than this on opening weekend.
And Gitesh, this past year, I feel like we were talking about how streaming could be the end of the theatrical experience. What do you think Spider-Man's blockbuster debut means for the future of this industry? Could it mean that we're only going to see these big budget Marvel films in the theater? Is it going to change what movies are created? I know I haven't seen a good romantic comedy in the theater for quite some time, but is that because consumers are just connecting more with these superhero films?
Well, certainly the superhero films are the ones that lead the way. The exhibitors are popping open the champagne this weekend because they saw so many people in theaters, not just here in the United States. Spider-Man was a global phenomenon. Every corner of the planet did gangbusters on this movie over the weekend. It's working everywhere. And so you're going to see that this is all about the experience. People who want to see the big screen, the big sound, a large crowd clapping and cheering at the same time. That's what you get at the movie industry. So that what that means is that you have a continuation of what we've been seeing over the last couple of years. The smaller and medium-sized movies are getting priced out a little bit. People enjoy streaming those at home, waiting a month, maybe 2 months to watch at home. But these big spectacles, the visual spectacles, these you have to see up on the big screen. And you're also seeing a larger percentage of the gross starting to come from the IMAX screens, the Dolby Vision, the premium format screens. People are willing to pay the extra dollars for that experience. You're seeing it across the board here and around the world. In fact, the Spider-Man movie grossed $600 million this weekend worldwide. So the overseas numbers were fantastic. And my forecast going forward is that this movie is probably going to reach about 900 million worldwide by Christmas Day. And then Sunday, that's the end of the second weekend, it'll hit $1 billion with the whole holiday week still to come and January as well. So this is a monster hit.
And I want to talk a little bit about the Omicron variant. Obviously, that's a big risk to markets, the economy. I'm sure theaters are bracing for impact as well. In your view, is Omicron and the pandemic in general the number one risk factor here for theaters? Or are there other areas of concern that should be weighed more heavily, like the competition from streaming, for example?
Well, I think Omicron is certainly a question mark going forward. As far as Spider-Man goes, that did not hold people back. The number of people in multiplexes nationwide and worldwide was pretty much at industry high levels. People came out. Now, going forward for the rest of the Christmas holidays and into January, you might see as Omicron status changes around the country, whether that affects the attendance as well. I do think it might hurt a little bit the repeat business. A lot of the Marvel fans might see a movie like this 2-3 times over the holidays. So maybe a little bit of an impact over there. But overall, most of the people who want to see the film are going to be there to see the film. So as far as other factors go, Part of it is going to be the content. People come out for the content. So if movies like the new Matrix movie, Matrix Resurrection, coming out this Wednesday, that is available at home for HBO Max subscribers. So people will have to choose theater or streaming at home. I do think with the virus and the week or two ahead, you'll start seeing some of those people shift from making theater plans to making streaming at home plans. And then going into next year, that strategy will stop. Warner Brothers will no longer be putting these movies in theaters and HBO Max at the same time. They'll go back to their original strategy of in theater only for a certain window before it goes to streaming. So I think next year you're going to see streaming as less of an issue because these movies will go straight to theaters only.
Getting back to one of Ali's earlier questions, it's Adam, by the way, thank you for joining us. There was a time, and correct me when I get it wrong, when it seemed as if Hollywood targeted movies for the niche teenage male audience. Now with the global reach of a movie like Spider-Man, is that still the audience, or is that, they've unleashed the Kraken and there's all kinds of market there? It's not just the teenage guy.
Well, that's interesting that you asked because years ago, that was the priority, the teenage boy, the summer movie season. This is an audience that will come out every week for every action movie. That's why you saw so many generic, forgettable action movies come out in theaters. But then that shifted. Part of it has to do with social media, with devices, smartphones, young people getting different kinds of cheaper entertainment at home. And so you saw the younger audience come out less and less. That was maybe the last 5 to 10 years or so. But now in the pandemic, things are changing a bit. And you do see the movies, like I said, the spectacle films led by the superhero movies kind of leading the way. And those tend to, skew a little bit more male, a wide age range, not just the younger folks. Superheroes, you've been watching this for generations, so people of all ages are into these films, and they are diversifying the movies, the cast, the actors that put in there. You're seeing a lot more stories out there, and that brings in more people who see themselves on the big screen. We saw that with Shang-Chi earlier this year, Black Widow earlier this year, movies like that. So the overall genre of superhero movies, it is expanding. It's not just the teenage boys anymore. And, the downside is that some of the films, maybe for adults, which do not have any kind of Oscar buzz, they might go to streaming or get smaller releases. So we might see less of a presence of them at the box office.
And real quickly here, before we let you go, 2021, it was sort of looked at as the year for the theatrical comeback. Now that we're at the end of this year, what's your thought? How would you describe this year in one word as we wrap up 2021? Obviously, so many hurdles, but also a lot of bright spots as well.
Well, I'd say roller coaster. This was a very different December than January. Of course, January, the virus was at its worst part. Theaters were closed in all the major markets. In the spring, things started opening up. Most of the big markets opened up. By the summer, we thought it was almost over and movies started getting on the calendar again. Then, Delta came in and more of a wave came back in again. Now it's different again. So it's really been changing a lot. But it's content that drives the business. And the studios do have a huge lineup of films next year. Some of them have been delayed because of the pandemic. So as long as the content is there, you're going to see those ticket buyers come out and deliver some big numbers again.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Gitesh Pandya, Box Office Guru founder and editor, and Yahoo Finance's Alexandra Canal, thank you both so much.